Cathaoirleach, and listening to the stories of Deputy Gould and Donnelly and Ward and their stories of their dogs, I'm minded of the phrase, if you want a friend in politics, get a dog. Cathaoirleach, Ireland is in the midst of a dog welfare crisis. It's not a phrase that I use lightly. Today, more than 3,000 dogs are in pounds and rescue centres across the country, and every week we hear of rescues overwhelmed, of foster networks stretched to their limits, and of families heartbroken after discovering the hidden cruelty behind their family puppy due to an industry that has gone unchecked for far too long. The facts speak for themselves. In 2022, more than 7,300 dogs entered Irish pounds, a staggering 77% increase from 2021. And despite the tireless work of staff and volunteers, 340 dogs were euthanised. This could have been prevented from ever reaching this point if our laws were fit for purpose. The shameful truth is Ireland has become, as has been said, the puppy farm capital of Europe. Up to 30,000 dogs are exported each year into illegal markets abroad. And when we include unregistered backyard breeding, that figure may rise to 100,000 puppies bred in conditions that range from inadequate to outright cruel. This bill, and I very much welcome the bill from Deputy Whitmore, shines a light on what has effectively become a profit-driven model of exploitation rooted in animal cruelty. We're talking about an industry worth over €200 million, an industry that, in some of its worst forms, is built on practices of cruelty and that border on outright criminality. Yet it is our animal welfare charities operating on shoestring budgets that are left to pick up the pieces. They are the ones dealing with the endless stream of neglected, sick and traumatised dogs. Countless animals are suffering the consequences of poor and irresponsible breeding, and far too many are being euthanised as a result. In some of these large-scale breeding operations, there can be as many as 300 pregnant mothers at any one time. Females can be bred from as young as 6 months old and are forced to give birth again and again with little regard for their health or well-being. The puppies themselves often come into the world deformed, sick or burdened with long-term physical and behavioural issues. Because a puppy should be cared for, nurtured and held during the first crucial 12 weeks of life, not treated as a commodity to be produced for profit. This simply cannot continue. We need stronger oversight, higher standards and meaningful enforcement. I welcome the opportunity for to debate this bill today, and I hope it proceeds to committee stage. And I note the amendment, Minister. I wasn't in for the earlier part of the debate, but I note the amendment. I think it's time for this to be moved to committee stage now. I don't think we need to wait a year down the line. Because of weak regulation, harmful practices have been allowed to flourish. Under the current system, puppies can be bred from females as young as 4 months old. Female dogs can be repeatedly bred with almost no restrictions. Oversight is inconsistent and enforcement is patchy at best. Backyard breeders continue to operate with virtually no accountability. Local authorities do their best with the resources they have, but they cannot enforce what is in reality an unenforceable system. There is no dedicated Garda unit for animal cruelty. Many cases only come to light when, for instance, neighbours become concerned, meaning that countless animals suffer unseen behind closed doors. Animal sanctuaries are at breaking point as unprecedented numbers of puppies, kittens and horses are abandoned, and soaring costs and falling donations leave those charities struggling to cope. This situation is not sustainable, it is not humane, and it is not who we claim to be as a nation that values compassion, responsibility and community. But this bill should have a face and a name, and I would like at this point to talk about a small pup that I've spoken about before in this chamber, a pup called Stout from my own constituency of Wexford, who has reached thousands of people because of an online campaign. Stout suffered from severe health difficulties caused by malnutrition, poor breeding practices and the appalling unsanitary conditions in which he was kept in. Despite every effort by the Wexford SPCA, Stout lost his life last August. But because of two people, Tara O'Connor and Kevin Keegan, who refused to let Stout's suffering to be in vain, his legacy lives on. They have led a compassionate and determined campaign, rallying animal lovers across the county and the country and beyond, and calling for legislation that holds breeders accountable and centres animal welfare in every aspect of dog breeding. They had a campaign called Stout's Law, which proposes that we finally recognise dogs not merely as personal property, but as living beings with intrinsic needs, with the right to comfort, proper care and the ability to express normal behaviour. Deputy Whitmore's bill offers a strong, structured and humane solution. It proposes, and I welcome this bill in the Dáil today. My own colleague, Deputy O'Donoghue, our spokesperson from Agriculture, which animal welfare falls under, has also begun a process of this bill after hearing about Stout's Law, and had recommended a cap of 30 breeding females per site, minimum and maximum breeding ages, a limit of 1 litre per year and 4 in a lifetime, a staff to animal ratio of 10:1, a ban on surgical artificial insemination, updated fees to reflect higher welfare standards. Additionally, this bill includes criminal penalties for breaches, fines of up to 250,000 and imprisonment up to 5 years for serious offences. These are not unreasonable demands. They are minimum standards required for ethical breeding. We are calling for Stout's Law to be incorporated into Deputy Whitmore's Act. This strengthens the legislation by establishing stricter limits on ages, duration and conditions of breeding, limiting lifetime litters, creating an independent regulator with real enforcement powers, supporting local authorities in oversight, outlawing backyard puppy farms once and for all, ensuring transparency and accountability at every step. Stout's Law ensures that welfare is not an afterthought, it is a foundation. It ensures breeders have a legal, moral and enforceable duty to provide freedom from discomfort, distress and neglect, and freedom to behave as dogs are meant to behave. Rescue centres should not be forced to pick up the pieces of an industry that profits from suffering. They should not be dealing with litters born with degenerative conditions, malnourished mothers or traumatised animals who have known nothing but stress and confinement. We have a serious animal welfare problem in Ireland, and we have a responsibility, morally, socially and legislatively, to confront it. By supporting this bill and incorporating Stout's Law within it, we can send a clear message that Ireland no longer tolerates cruelty behind closed doors, that compassion must outweigh profit, that the welfare of animals is a reflection on the values we hold as a society. Colleague Stout did not survive, but his legacy can ensure that thousands of other dogs do. It's time now to reform our laws, to strengthen enforcement, to protect vulnerable animals and give Ireland a dog breeding system we can be proud of. I urge everybody in this chamber to support the Dog Welfare Amendment Bill 2025 and formally incorporate Stout's Law into this legislation. For Stout and for the countless dogs suffering and will continue to suffer if we don't act upon this now. Before I close, I also want to highlight one more emerging concern. I spoke recently with the DSPCA about the worrying rise in kitten farming, the growing demand for fashionable breeds fuelled by viral trends on social media in creating large, profit-driven breeding operations where appearance is prioritised over animal welfare. I've seen this myself countless occasions on social media. Kitten farming may be less widely recognised than puppy farming, but the suffering it causes is every bit as real. We must also get ahead of this issue before it becomes another real problem. I earnestly request everybody to support Deputy Whitmore's bill.